Hello and welcome to the Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube channel. I am Jessica, the knitter and designer behind Snickerdoodle Knits. In this video, I'm going to talk all about my Autumnal Socks knitting pattern design. So this design is one of 4 fingering weight knitting patterns in the A New Home knitting pattern collection. So this collection is part of a bigger series. The collection that was released before this one was released November 8th, 2020, and that was the My Forever Home collection. That collection was inspired by my home state, which is Montana, and so then it was released on Montana's birthday, which is November 8th. Now this pattern, this collection, the A New Home collection, is inspired by where I now live, which is North Carolina. So it's my new home, and North Carolina's birthday is November 21st. So this collection will be released on November 21st of 2020. So the Autumnal Socks design is really inspired by the beautiful fall that we have here in North Carolina. My memories of growing up in Montana, it seemed like fall was spelled like winter. Like fall was when you started having all the cold weather and all the snow started and it was just cold. And I don't like the cold personally. I like warm sunny beaches. So I love the fall that we have here in North Carolina, where we still have warm days, and we really get to see all of the vibrant colors of fall, and we don't have snow just knocking down the leaves. Everything just happens. I mean, I guess snow's natural too, but I was gonna say everything just happens naturally. But it's so beautiful to just watch that full process of fall here. The leaves turning colors, and the leaves, I keep looking out the window because I can see trees outside. The leaves falling, and I just love the whole atmosphere of it all. Love, like, there's just a lot of trees around here. I talk more about that in the Endless Woods Cowl, another pattern that's part of the collection, but just like all the trees that are around. And so then when we have the fall colors, we really see the vibrancy of it all around us. So anyway, that's the inspiration for the Autumnal Socks, and why it is a part of the North Carolina collection. So the sock pattern, I have, well, there are a lot of customizations for the pattern. So I really want you to take what I've designed and to make it your own, and I provide lots of different options within the pattern. So it's a toe-up pattern, and your first option is if you want to work a rounded toe or a square toe. So the rounded toe just has a bit softer edges here, a bit more curved. The square toe is just like a straight diagonal here. For me, the rounded toe works with my foot style better, but our feet are all different. So I've included instructions for both toe styles within the pattern. And then everybody works through this first part. The socks are mirrored of each other. So this one is the right sock, and this is the left sock, and there is this motif. It's a faux cable, so it looks like a cable, but there's no cabling involved with it, that run up the outer edge of your foot. So it's the outer edge here of your feet. And then once you get to the heel, so I provide instructions for this whole repeat, and I tell you like exactly, I give you the instructions so that you can end exactly where it will fit your foot. So I tell you like how long your heel is going to be. So stop this patterning at X amount of inches or centimeters before you get to the full length of your foot so that your heel will fit you perfectly. And a note on that, I have this in the pattern as well, but you do not have to complete a full repeat of this leaf motif. So then when we get to the heel, I have included 2 different options of heels in there. So this here is the short row wrap and turn heel, but I've also included instructions for an afterthought heel. And actually right now I'm working on another version of the sock, and so I'll have the photos within the pattern of each type. So I'll have photos that show you in the pattern what the rounded toe looks like and what the square toe looks like. I'll show photos of what the afterthought heel looks like and what the short row wrap and turn heel looks like. And then once you've completed the heel, you have the choice to make it ankle height or calf height. So basically, if you decide to go ankle height, which is what I'm doing with my other set that I'm working on right now, basically if you're going ankle height, you're just going to knit a few rounds and then do your cuff. If you're going to do the calf height, you will continue to work this motif and this new motif along the height of the sock. And so we work both those motifs now till we get to the cuff. So this motif here is the inner part of the leg. So it's right on the inside of your thigh on each leg. So this is how you wear them, and it's on the inside of those legs. So this motif is, it's a slip stitch motif. It uses slip stitches to create a tree or branches kind of motif. So it's like the trees after they've lost all of their leaves. So you have your leaves here and your trees here, your branches here. And so I think this is my favorite part of the pattern, just because it adds a really fun element. It's not difficult, but it makes the patterning interesting, and it's a little more than just something running up one side of your foot. So I really like that there's 2 different things going on, but it's not complicated. And especially when you're in the foot, even though this is some patterning, there's a lot of stockinette still happening. So it's a fun, engaging knit that it's not complicated. It's not going to have you sitting in the corner tearing your hair out because you need to be able to concentrate and your kids are running around screaming. So yes, and then of course the cuff here, and if you want to alter the height of your sock, you can completely do that too. Of course, you could end after any of these motifs, or after you end a motif, you could knit more stockinette than is in the pattern, just to adjust that. And then I also have in the pattern a video tutorial linked with some recommendations on how you could adjust the width of your sock here. So if your calf is smaller or larger than the sock, and it's just not going to work, you're going to want to adjust the circumference. So what I have recommended is basically increasing or decreasing here in the back of the sock, and I have some more information in that video that I've linked in the pattern. So I think that's all of the customizations. You can customize your heel, you can customize the length of your foot, you can customize the toe and heel, foot length, calf length, or you could just do an ankle length. So I think that's pretty much the pattern information. I kind of talked about the techniques. I think this is a great pattern for an adventurous beginner who knows how to knit in the round and is comfortable with that. The slipped cross stitches, technically it is like a cabling technique. You can use a cable needle, but I also have linked in the pattern a tutorial that talks about how to work these slipped cross stitches without a cable needle. And I find that really convenient because I don't like having to constantly pick up and set down my cable needle. So yes, for adventurous beginners who know how to knit in the round, are comfortable with working in the round, you'll have increases, you'll have decreases, you'll have, that's pretty much it, knits and purls, and then the slip cross stitches. So those are the techniques used in the pattern. Now for the yarn, I've mentioned that it's fingering weight. This is, so the yarns for the full collection, the A New Home collection, all of the yarns I used were from indie dyers local to North Carolina. So the yarn dyer that I used for this pattern is Nitty Gritty Fibers, and this is her fingering base, and the colorway is Pumpkin Spice Latte, and I'm sure you can tell why I chose the colorway, completely autumnal, and such a fun autumn colorway. So when you're choosing your yarns, a solid or a tonal, of course, will show the patterning best, but I really feel like even this colorway that has variation, I think it still shows the pattern really well. The key is you want to have something that's not too busy and something that's not too dark. So a dark, like a black yarn, is going to hide any textures a lot more than a light yarn, and anything with a lot more colors going on is going to hide the texture more than a plain color. So I have a blog that I wrote specific to this pattern, and in that blog I have color recommendations and alternative yarn suggestions. So in that blog, the first half of the blog is all about some colors that I think would work really well for the Autumnal Socks pattern. I have some solid colors and I have some more variegated colors to give a little bit of variety. I try to have a little bit variety in the color palette as well. These are all yarns from Nitty Gritty Fibers, so that you can help support a small indie dyer local to North Carolina. But if you're looking for an alternative yarn, especially if you're looking for an more affordable yarn option, I have in that blog, the second half of that blog post is dedicated to alternative yarn recommendations. So in there I have more affordable yarn suggestions. These are primarily yarns from like box stores, bigger stores that are able to provide yarns at a lower cost. So this is like Michael's, Knit Picks, Webs, stores like that. So I've selected some fingering weight yarns that I have suggested would work well for the pattern, and on that blog post I kind of do a little comparison for you to make it easy for you to look at how each yarn is a little bit different in content and weight and price. So for those alternative yarn recommendations, I did not do specific colors for each brand because that would just be way too time consuming for me. But what I recommend is that you take a look at the yarns that I recommended for Nitty Gritty Fibers, and if you're going to use an affordable yarn option, just maybe use those suggestions as inspiration. If there's one of those colors that you really like, then take a look at affordable yarn options and try to find colors that are similar to what you're looking for. So that's that on yarns. If you're interested in seeing what my test knitters use, I recommend that you check out the Ravelry pattern page, and I'll talk more about how you find all the links. Check out the Ravelry pattern page, and towards the top of that website there's a link to projects, and so that shows you projects that have been made with this pattern, and then you can get an idea of what kind of yarns they used and how well it showed the pattern and all of that stuff. So yes, that is yarns. Now for sizing, I have lots of size options, and like I said, everything is customizable as well. So basically you choose your size option based on the circumference of your foot, I give the typical foot length for that circumference. So like if you're gift knitting for somebody and you don't know how long their foot is, but you know how wide their foot is, you can just use that average foot length for knitting the pattern. So anyway, the circumferences that I have provided are in 1/2 inch increments from 7 inches to 10 inches. So 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, etc. 7 inches to 10 inches in circumference. So that's a large range of pretty much all adult sizes. And on all of the pattern pages, I have all of the information. So I have circumference, I have foot length, and then I have the leg height, approximate leg height for the calf and the ankle height. And then of course all of that is customizable except for the circumference. So there's a large variety of sizes available to you. So we have talked about design inspiration yarns, sizing, knitting techniques. I think that's pretty much it. So where you can find all of the rest of the information, where you can purchase the pattern, that is on my website. I have a specific pattern page for the Autumnal Socks. So I have that link to the Autumnal Socks pattern page in the description box down below. When you go to that page, it has all of the information, like what the design inspiration was, what the knitting experience is like, when you're going to want to wear your socks, what techniques are included in the pattern, how much yarn you're going to need, what size needles you're going to want, what the gauge is. All of that information is all on the pattern page. Also included on the pattern page, well, first if we back up, where I have outlines of the yarn requirements, I have also included that link to the blog post with the color and yarn recommendations and suggestions. So you can check that out. It's also linked in the pattern, that blog is. But yes, on the pattern page, I also had in multiple spots throughout the pattern page, I have linked all of the locations where you can purchase the pattern. So the pattern is available on Ravelry, LoveCrafts, and Payhip. If any of that changes in the future, if for some reason I have to take my patterns off to one place or I start offering them on another place, all of those links will always be available on my pattern page. So use that link that is in the description. That will give you all of the information that you need. So I hope you found this video helpful, informative. I hope it answered any questions that you had about the Autumnal Socks. If you have any outstanding questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer those. And I hope you're excited to knit the Autumnal Socks. It's such a fun pattern. It's very engaging. Definitely, yes, you'll be engaged, you'll be paying attention to the pattern, but it's not a really difficult knit. So I think you're really going to enjoy it, and I can't wait to see your projects. We always like to see what you're making, so if you can share those projects either on Ravelry, link them to the pattern, or on Instagram, you can tag Snickerdoodle Knits on Instagram and I can see what you're making. So yes, I hope this video was helpful. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button to watch more Snickerdoodle Knits YouTube videos. I provide knitting pattern tutorials. I provide knitting technique tutorials for each of the techniques used in my patterns, and I also have design overview videos just like this one that I provide regularly. So if you hit the notification bell, you will receive notifications each time I upload a video. So I look forward to seeing you around, and I wish you happy knitting.